Hello and welcome to the Prairie Fibre Witch podcast. Yes, I've decided to go with a different name. It's a little bit more exciting. And I've coordinated it also with my Instagram name, so you can find me on Instagram now as Prairie Fibre Witch and on Ravelry as Jane Mumbles still. Hi, I'm Sarah A, and this is my little corner of the internet where I talk about making things by hand, mostly knitting, but sometimes other crafts as well. I'd like to thank everybody who's checked out my podcast so far. It may be too early to thank returning viewers, I'm not sure, but thanks for checking it out, and I hope you like what you see. It's been a little while since my last podcast, and I'm coming to you from a different location. Usually I'm in Edmonton, Alberta, but we are on vacation in Mexico for the next little while, so I'm going to be podcasting from here for a bit. My mom is retired, my dad is sort of semi-retired, and so they come down to central Mexico in the mountains for about 6 weeks-ish in the winter, and I'm fortunate enough that my current work life and student life allows me to come with them. I also got new glasses and retrimmed the bangs a little, so those are some other new things. And oh yeah, and show notes I usually put in the description box, which is, there's a little arrow thing that you press and it's underneath the video. And if you have any questions, feel free to ask. So I'm going to start with what I'm wearing. I finished about a week before we left. I decided I was going to sew up some dresses for the trip, and I managed to get 2 done, and I'll put in pictures of them so you can see them completely. This is the second dress that I made out of the really nice linen fabric that my parents gave me for Christmas. This is some Merchant & Mills linen, and this is the Hinterland dress. For this version, I made the sleeves a little larger to accommodate my biceps. I made the hem a little bit longer for the short version. I sort of made it halfway between the short version and the long version to hit me just below the knee, and I quite like that length. And I changed the seam allowances a little to make it a little bit of a looser fit. And yeah, so I've made 2 of these dresses. I'll insert pictures of the other one that I made, which I made from some linen that I had in my stash, a nice lightweight linen that I had bought when I lived in Montreal many years ago. And it's quite a nice linen. I don't know any details about it in order to be able to find more of it, but I managed to squeak these dresses out of about 1.5 meters of fabric with creative cutting. So I still have more that I could make something else with. Yeah, so I can make use of that nice linen again. I haven't recently done this, but after talking about Stash List 2020 in the last video, I did a little bit of number crunching to see what those scary numbers were in terms of how much yarn I actually have in my stash. And there is about 107,000 meters in my stash. I downloaded my stash from Ravelry, and then you can do, I did an addition column of all the totals of actual yardage, which I don't know that those numbers are completely accurate, but we'll go with that as a rough estimate, which is a big scary number, and I was a little concerned with it until I did a tally of how much yardage I used in the last year, and I knit about 18,600 meters last year. So if I were able to keep up that same rate of knitting, I would be able to work through my entire stash in 5.76 years. So just under 6 years, which, I mean, that's a significant amount of knitting to be doing in a significant amount of time, but I'm nowhere near the the scary stash beyond life expectancy that other people have talked about. So I do feel like I should still continue my endeavor to work through the stash that I have. It doesn't seem like a big insurmountable goal. Other than finishing 2 dresses, I also finished this pair of Christmas socks. This is out of the Regia candy color in 1163 Zimstern, which a friend of mine informed me is a kind of German spiced, cinnamon spiced Christmas cookie with a little icing on it. They're usually star-shaped, I believe. And yeah, these are, you know, holiday cookie, holiday socks. I don't know the yardage on these because I didn't bring a scale with me. I brought enough stuff with me on this trip. And yeah, these are nicely finished. My classwork has started, so I have been reading again academic articles and books. So do have reading to, or knitting to go with reading those items. Yeah, so those are finished, and they are, it'll be a little while till they get to the recipient, and we have to get back from Mexico. And I have another pair of socks to knit to go with them. I did start another pair of socks out of another color, another of the Regia candy colors that I got this year. This is 1164 Glühwein, which is the German term for mulled wine. That one I know. Something that in my family we often make for Christmas parties. So I started these intending them to also be a gift, but like the way that it's knitting up, the pattern is just too good. So I think I'm gonna keep these for myself. And I'm not even sure that they need to be kept as Christmas socks, because they're not strictly festive colors. So I'm not sure, I might just wear them like as a fall sock or something like that. And yeah, those have been coming along quite nicely. You can tell I've had some readings to do in the past few weeks. I didn't bring all of my projects with me. I left my blanket at home, my hexagon blanket, and my colorwork cardigan. They're both at home. There was just too much to be packing. I'm giving myself permission to start some new projects instead. Something that I did bring was my Felix pullover, and I've gotten quite a bit of work done on this, as you can see. It's just sailed through the body increases, did the whole body, and I'm just binding off the cuff at the bottom here. Because this yarn is a little bit fragile, I'm using the Plötulopi. And I feel like I kind of tried to figure out what color it was. I'm using some Plötulopi that I had in my stash that I'm not sure that it's this color, but it looks to me to be a lot like 1422 Sea Green Heather, which I don't know, maybe you can see a little bit better in this light. It's this sort of foresty green with heathered bits of blue and a burnt orange in there. So it's quite a lovely color in person. Can you see that? We'll see. Yeah, so that's coming along quite well, and I'm sure I'll be onto the sleeves. It's knitting up quite quickly because this is being knit on a 6mm needle, or US 10. The socks that I'm knitting, forgot to mention, they are on a 2mm needle. I believe an Addi Sock Rocket, and this is a Leica for my interchangeable set. Yeah, so these are coming along quite quickly. I have the socks. Oh, I have another pair of socks. I forgot to grab the other pair of socks that I'm knitting. I had started these for my mom and mentioned them last time. These are some red monkey socks, a pattern by Cookie A. I didn't bring sock blockers. Again, trying to keep the luggage down. And I've got one sock done, and the other one started. And this is out of, the blue is a handmade in Casbah in Denim, and the red is Sisu Solids by Sans Garn. Sisu in color number 4228, which is a dark red, I believe is what it's called. The red was a contrast color that I had picked up for a different pair of socks, and I had more than enough to make these socks. I had intended to do contrasting heels, toes, and cuffs, but I flew through the heel before and forgot about changing the color. Yeah, but I remembered for the toes. So there we go. Those are coming along nicely, and these are on 2.25 Chow-Gu red lace needles. Yeah, so that's all that I'm working on at the moment. Some things that I had brought to work on is yarn for another cardigan. Now I can't remember the name of it, and of the pattern. And I also brought yarn to do another color work pullover, the Icelandic pullover by Skandir. Yeah, some yarn from Stash and some that I had acquired to go with it. And I also brought yarn to do at least, I think, 3 more pairs of socks, because I imagine I'll be doing lots of reading. And I should be able to work parts of the cardigan, Stockbridge cardigan by Isolde Teague. There we go. Last year or a couple years ago, I had worked part of that while doing reading, so I should be able to do that again this year. Yeah, so I guess that's all for knitting. That's quicker than usual. As for books, I finished reading Kindred, which, the graphic novel adaptation, and it was very good. I recommend checking it out if you're at all interested in graphic novels. I also read a book called Paying for It by Chester Brown, which is a book about his experiences as a John, basically, and paying for sex in Toronto. It was an interesting book, and he has also some discussions in the book with friends of his on the topic of paying for sex instead of being in a relationship, and like the nature of relationships and how one thing's okay but another thing's not, and some of the issues of legalizing prostitution versus regulating it. The one thing I would have liked to have seen would be, he was trying to sort of anonymize the prostitutes that he was saying, as a way to protect their identities. But I would have liked to have seen not necessarily more personal details, but like more of their perspective on the situation. And yeah, I think that would have been made it a little bit more rich and interesting. And the book that I'm reading now is Wild by Cheryl Strayed. I'm reading it as a I'm reading as an ebook out from my library. It's one that I had started at home. I have a physical copy of it at home that I started when I was returning all my books to the library. I picked it up again, and yeah, I'm really enjoying it. I had watched the movie, and I've heard from many people that it's a really good book, and yeah, it is. It's really good. Yeah. So what does that even put us at? 20 minutes, I guess. Oh, one other thing that I'm doing while I'm here in Mexico is I am taking a weaving class. There is, in the town where we are, there's a educational institution that does open workshops for anyone to come down, and they're in English and Spanish, to be able to learn different crafts. And in past years, I have taken silver jewelry making, and then last year when we were here, one of the people who was taking my workshop was also taking a weaving workshop, and the professor was there, and so we got to see the workshop and see what she was working on, and I decided then that I wanted to try it myself. So I'll put in some pictures and I will have used a little bit of video of what I've been working on. So that those are 3-hour classes, 3 times a week. And because I'm not working while I'm down here, I still have plenty of time to do my schoolwork and other social events. So it works out quite nicely. And somehow I'll have a rug to bring home with me, which will be an interesting luggage challenge. Yeah, so that's all that I've been making so far. Doesn't seem like very much, but it's been a busy few weeks, just in like trying to do some sewing, doing some schoolwork, getting packed to come down, and then the traveling to come down has just meant that I've been occupied doing other things than just making stuff. So, but yeah, settling back into a bit of a new routine. Anyway, thanks for catching up with me, and I'll see you again next time.